Well, hey there, we're back, and it's time for another pretty epic castle update. As you can see, it lights up now. So I ended up purchasing lights through Brick Loot, and that was primarily because they were cheap. If you've ever lit Lego before, I think you know how pricey it can get, especially for something this size. It just ended up working out best. So unfortunately, they don't have flickering lights at Brick Loot, but they had a lot of really cool options yet too. Kind of like this little lantern. Or like these flames, which I was really excited about. Even if they don't flicker, they still look really, really good. So I guess the biggest change beyond the lights though, is the fact that the castle has indeed topped out at something like 47.5 inches, just shy of 4 feet. Yeah, it's a tall one. So all the terrain is done, all of the castle is done, and I've even started experimenting with some of the plants. So we've got some olive green vines climbing up the side, and there's also some smaller details too, like cannons. Can you imagine launching the cannon from up there? The range you must get pretty epic. But also, if you've been paying attention to the Bricklink videos, we do have some minifigures chosen to populate this thing. I've gone with the collectible minifigures Conquistador. I think it just fits the summery island tropical vibes of this really well, and it's unique because I was going to just throw in some Kingdoms era castle minifigures here, but this is a lot more special and a lot more expensive, but I think it's a worthwhile investment. Saved a lot of money on lights anyway, so go a little crazy on these guys. Actually, behind him, I don't know how well we're gonna be able to see in there, but there is some interior there too. Just it's a bit of an armory, so you can see some buckets there, but we've got some spears on the walls, and there's a goblet. Some fun stuff in there. Here, we'll walk around the castle a bit so you get an idea of what's going on with the lighting. So I tried to make sure, of course, that all the windows were lit up in some way. That was the big one. And then as we go higher up too, just squeezing in some of those flames, I think they just looked especially cool wherever I could on these balconies. But yeah, there you go. Really excited to have my first properly lit up mock ever. I think it turned out pretty good, and it's still fairly easy to transport. It still disconnects in the middle. You just have to unplug a few USBs from that big hub that sits somewhere in the middle, and then you can take the top off completely. So hopefully that'll make it a lot easier to transport. But anyway, let's turn the lights on and see what the castle actually looks like. So that's what we're looking like in the daylight. I mean, if you doubted that it was going to be vertical, it's very vertical. I think it's going to be quite impressive to have this on display in a conventional. I just love vertical builds. Glad this was able to get as tall as it is. So we've got all sorts of the Conquistadors all over the build. But I'm also going to have a bunch on the boat, which is still unchanged. But as more and more stuff gets finished here, I am going to have to confront the reality that I have to build this at some point. Scary though it might be. But if we can get that thing working and looking good doing it, it's going to be, could even be the highlight of the build, I think. But anyway, that ship is going to be populated with a lot more dudes. They're just hanging out down here. So, of course, we got the CMF guys, but also just some more generic guys, because the CMF ones, they're expensive. $12 a pop. It's just not worth buying anymore. I think, okay, there's 3 there, 1 there, 4, 5, 6, 7. I mean, he doesn't have a helmet, but I'll count him. 8, 9. I think that sounds about right. So I'm pretty happy with those numbers. The next big thing on the castle portion of the build is going to be adding in those trees that I keep talking about, just scattered here and there to kind of break up some of these emptier spots, but hopefully add just a bit more pop of color. If I end up going not palm tree route, some other type of tree, I think I'm going to do dark green rather than regular green. I had some bright green on here originally, and it was definitely just a little bit too much against the muted colors. But if I do palm trees, I think I could get away with a regular green. Probably not bright green. Bright green was pretty aggressive, but I think dark green would blend in pretty well, but it's hard to say because that green is going to pop so nicely. So yeah, we got to experiment with that. I'm excited to do the trees, but they're going to be tough, especially since there's no way to tie them into the existing structure, right? They aren't going to be integrated into the build. I mean, I can chip away some of the rock, definitely can't chip away at the castle. So that'll be interesting, because I want them to look like they're integrated without having to go through and rebuild the whole thing. But yeah, I'm excited to have just, roots dangling, some nice greens, whether that be dark green or regular green, to contrast against the castle. And then throw some parrots, some birds, all sorts of fun stuff into the trees too. But I do like the vines here. I mean, pretty simple technique with that tri-leaf piece and the olive green leaves, but works well. It was fun to dig out all the cannons. They've been sorted, since I started sorting. They're one of the easiest things to locate in a bin, right? And they've just never been used in a mock I've made before. And here they are coming out. I think there's 3. You can see them all here on the lower-ish levels of the castle. But for other details that will go on these balconies, just crates with ammo, stuff like that for the defenses. Could even have a tree on top of one of these. I mean, why not? So probably for the next episode, we're going to be focusing on those trees and the remaining details here, pushing off that boat just a little bit longer while I still can. So excited to have this thing properly lit up. That's big, exciting stuff. Let me know what you think. Have a great life. I'll see you later.